Hello, everyone. It is Sunday night, and we are here at Bat City Comic Professionals coming to you live to talk about all of this week's indie and small press new releases. As always, I am your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to help you wind down your weekend. And since we're winding down our weekend, of course, we have to kick it off by talking about what wine we're drinking. So this one's really exciting because I have no idea what it is. And so I'm really tempted to know what I'm going to drink in a second. But we went to the wine store. We picked out a bunch of stuff. This was kind of in, like, the Tempranillo Spanish area is actually Portuguese. So we're not 100%. It's just like a Portuguese red, I guess is what we're going to call it. It is called Artesania, Portugal. It's got this really pretty design on the front of the bottle. It's supposed to be bold, rich, and spicy. I love it because it says it goes great with tacos and burgers, and I mean, that's exactly what you need, is something you can drink while eating tacos or burgers. And then the big thing is that it's supposed to be a very warm, lush black fruit flavor with some spicy notes. And those are all things that we really love in wine, so I'm going to see if this is one that is going to fit that. I could smell that strongly. It's not, it's like a, I'd take another drink. Well, it does. I do have the spice. It is light enough to go with a burger. Like, it could go nicely with the heavy food because it's not too heavy in and of itself. Oh my gosh, you're having a moment over there. What do you think, Matt?
It's light, like you said. Like, it feels light bodied, but at the same time, it has the jamminess that you want in a jammy wine. But it has this, like, flavor explosion on the back end that makes your taste buds tingle a little bit.
It does
literally
tingle.
got a tingle. And
does it in your nose too. Like, if you pick it up and do the little, like, sniff test, like, you get a little bit of, like, tingle in your nose.
This is good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And bold, rich, and spicy is definitely a good description because that's kind of what you walk away with. Like, it's not necessarily what I, like, initially tasted, but on my walk away, I'm like, yes, this is going to be, like, I can still taste it.
Yeah. Your after flavor is almost stronger than your initial flavor. Your initial drinking flavor it's not abrupt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's soft coming in, so it's not one of those where you're like, oh my God, that's wine. Like, it's like a light flavor at the beginning, but then, like, again, I can still feel it on my taste buds right now.
Wow, that's really good. It, like, builds in intensity, and the things that make it interesting are at the back, like you said, are at the finish, not up front.
Yeah.
So you have time to enjoy a refreshing beverage.
Yeah.
And then on the back end, you get the flavor. We'll be buying this again.
Yeah, we'll definitely get this again. And I really want to try it with all the things, because it says, grilled or roasted pork, which I think a pulled pork taco set would be really good with this. Spicy chili, which I think goes well with all things, but this does seem like it would taste really good with some chili. And then, like I said, chicken tacos and burgers. And I think that lightness is great when you go to take that drink after something like a burger or chicken taco that has some flavor to it. But then as the flavor from the food is dying off, the flavor from your wine would come in and complement what you just had so well. This is a fantastic wine. I love it. And honestly, like, one of the reasons I picked it was for this really cool bottle kind of matched the aesthetic we were going for with one of our events this weekend. And so I thought it was really cool to have this it's almost like the tiles of the wall kind of situation. And so I really liked it. And I love that I'm looking at Matt's screen from here. And for me, it almost just looks like the back of a trading card. Or a playing card, because of, like, the small details from far away. But when you zoom in and you get all that texture, again, it's like wall tiles in a Spanish hacienda. So really pretty, really great bottle. I definitely think it also fits the taste of the food so well, or the wine so well. Yeah, I'm, like, trying to see. So much of the back of this bottle is in Portuguese that I'm like, I almost need to scan the QR code for more information, because it's got, like, a breakdown of the different percentages of it, and I don't know what the words necessarily mean, so I'm actually just really curious, and I'm definitely going to explore that a little more, because now I love the bottle. I love the wine so much that I've got to explore it more in a minute. But Yeah, so we're going to be drinking this all night, and if you're enjoying something delicious, whether it's a water, especially if it's water, because I love to know what kind of water people drink, or anything else, let us know how you're winding down your weekend in whatever capacity that may be. I'm going to slide this over here, and I'm going to share this show out so that people can join us. Oh, yeah, I totally forgot to take my picture. I was like, what is there, I think? Oh, man, that bottle just looks so good. Sorry, I just saw it on the screen again, and I'm like, man, it's a pretty bottle. All right, so we are going to be talking about this week's comics, but before we jump into that, there are quite a lot of announcements. So first up, thank you to everybody who came out for our Silver Vessels event yesterday. It was so much fun. We had a blast. So if you didn't see my video about Silver Vessels specifically, this is all about a group of kids who are trying to enjoy their summer vacation by coming down to Florida, specifically the Keys, and to go. One of them surprises the other with the fact that he wants to go on a treasure hunt because he's absolutely certain he knows where the Silver Vessel's treasure is. And so our lead character, Josh, brings his two best friends, Hope and Hunter, down with them, and they go on this treasure hunt. And because of that, we went on a treasure hunt in the store yesterday after Story Spelunkers. So our Story Spelunkers got the opportunity to learn how we can break down the little clues that are in riddles so that we can use our inference and evidence skills to become like detectives. And then we went on a scavenger hunt all throughout the day in the store. It was so much fun. We had so many kids come by and do it, even some adults. And it led them to some secret treasure, which was a lot of fun. So thank you, everybody that came out, and thanks to everybody that picked up Silver Vessels while you were here. I hope you enjoy a fantastic, good-natured, enjoyable, fun read. And if you didn't get it, we do still have copies in the store. You definitely want to check this out. If you want to hear more about it, tomorrow we are going to be posting our interview with the writer of Silver Vessel, Steve Orlando. I've got to sit down with Steve virtually on Friday and ask him some questions, not just about this, but about his writing process and advice he would give to a lot of our young writers and some of you out there who are working on your books and things right now. So we're going to be posting that so you can see some fantastic info from Steve. Thank you, Steve Orlando, for doing that interview and for talking up our Silver Vessel scavenger hunt and letting us just share this fantastic book with people. And on that note, we're going to also give a big shout out to our friends at Mad Cave, which I just lost my other thingy that I had. There it is, for these awesome bookmarks that they sent us. So if you didn't know, this year is the 10th anniversary of Mad Cave, one of our small press publishers. I'm also wearing the Mad Cave shirt. You can see right here. One of our favorite small press publishers. They are so incredible, amazing, celebrating 10 years. We're very excited about it. And one of the ways that Mad Cave is celebrating their 10-year anniversary is they are actually celebrating with all of the stores who have celebrated with them. So they're going to be selecting 10 stores throughout the world that have been big supporters of indie, small press comics, and of course Mad Cave over the last 10 years. And I am so excited that I finally get to say this live on the internet to all the people. But Bat City is Mad Cave's first of the 10 stores of the month. We are the Mad Cave store of the month. Woohoo! Yes! So thank you, Mad Cave, for naming Bat City your store of the month. It is a party in here. They sent us so much cool stuff. We have 10-year anniversary balloons hanging from the ceiling. We've got streamers. We've got a really cool Wicked banner that says Mad Cave store of the month. We've got these awesome bookmarks that tell you that you can go mad at Bat City, which of course, if you've been here, you know that's true. Not only do we have Mad Cave featured on our new comics wall, but we do have a Mad Cave section in our indie small press impulse buys at the front of the store, so you can always grab some great Mad Cave titles there. We also have Mad Cave stickers. So these are going to be at the counter all month long for you to grab as well. So grab your bookmark, grab your sticker, and celebrate Mad Cave. And if you want to take your Mad Cave celebration a little bit further, there's so many ways you can do that. Not only are you going to be able to catch our interview with Steve Orlando, but we've got a ton more events all this month, both virtually and in store, to celebrate that. And the next one coming up is April 15th. We have our Digital Lizards of Doom event. This is one of the coolest things that I ever I'm so excited about this event. We are going to have Gabriel, the creator of Digital Lizards of Doom, calling in on a Zoom call for all the kiddos who are able to show up and be a part of this. And not only is he going to do all kinds of fun stuff and talk to us about Digital Lizards of Doom, but he is also going to let kids ask their own questions. So if you show up, you're going to be able to get face-to-face with Gabe over the Zoom call and ask your questions. So for parents, if you've got a young kid, this is a great opportunity to give them a chance to talk to a creator and learn about what it means to make comics, to write their own stories, to come up with these big, incredible worlds. And if you want to know a little bit more about Digital Lizards of Doom, they actually have a YouTube channel where you can check out a puppet show that stars all of the characters of Digital Lizards of Doom and also has some really great educational points. Not only are we going to have Gabe doing this incredible interview and activity set, but then following the interview, we are going to have some additional activities going on in the store. We're going to play some Licorice or Lava, which you'll know if you check out those episodes of Digital Lizards of Doom. We are going to have some bingo games, and we are going to have a ton of fun and some chances to win copies of Digital Lizards of Doom while you're here. It's going to be a blast. We are actually, again, the event is April 15th. Now, if you are a Bat City fan member, you may notice that date on your calendar is a Monday. And Bat City is never open on Mondays. But guess what? We will be open exclusively for people who are coming to the Digital Lizards of Doom event. So if you come and you're hanging out with Gabriel and the Mad Cave team and me, and you're having a blast and like learning about Digital Lizards of Doom and reading some stories and acting some fun stuff out, you are going to get to come into Bat City that day, and there is going to be so much special stuff going on. So find that event on our Facebook page. Be prepared to come April 15th and party with some Digital Lizards. And I'm going to be doing a video just like I did of Silver Vessels that's going to tell you all about what this book is about. But until then, check out the video on our Facebook event that'll show you the puppet show. That link is in there, so you can check it out. We've got some more stuff. Do you want me to tell them about the other things from Mad Cave? Do you want to hold them for secrets? What do you think, Matt?
We can hold them. There's more things coming.
There's more things coming from Mad Cave all this month long. And yes, they are secrets for now. Or you can check our events calendar and see some of those coming up. But there's a ton more events in general coming your way. So, of course, this Saturday coming up, April 13th, is going to be our comic creation workshops for kiddos. There is one at 11:30, one at 3:30. As always, they are free. Bring your kids, let them have some fun. You're welcome to drop them off in the classroom. You can do your shopping, you can come back, whatever you want to do, but you can let them come and use those imaginations. And speaking of imagining things, we will be at Imagine North Manatee's Comic-Con on April 20th. I'm so excited about this. It is $15 per family. We were there last year, and we love our Imagine school. We do field trips with them. We go. They are so cool. Their comic club is awesome, their pop culture club, and they are throwing this con, which is also going to help with the school and the pop culture club getting to do more things. So we will be out there. It's going to be a blast. There's some artists, there's vendors, there's games. It was so much fun last year. Don't miss it. Again, $15 per family. Get your whole group in the door. And April 20th, 10 to 3, I believe is what that says. It's going to be fun, so you definitely want to be there. And speaking of cons in our area, May 11th, we will be out at SiestaCon. Really excited. This is at the Robarts Arena down in Sarasota. There's going to be comic artists. There's going to be magic card artists. So you can actually get some of your cards signed and things like that. There's going to be some voice actors. CGC will be on site, so as well as CCG. So if you... the whole thing. So if you get any of your stuff signed, they will be there to be able to provide for that. There's going to be TCG tournaments, so trading card games. There's going to be board game tournaments. There's going to be panels, a cosplay contest. We'll be setting up a cosplay or a comic creation station. There's going to be Lego Steam. It is going to be so much fun. It's a one-day con. $10 for adults. Children are free, which is incredible. You're gonna want to take the whole family, because that's, $20 for 2 adults, and then however many kids you bring with you get in free. That's fantastic. So take the whole family.
All foods under $10.
All the foods, yeah, I think that's what the guys, and the parking is free, I believe. So you can't get a con. Like the guy was saying, what that is, burgers are like $5, wasn't it? I'm like, you can't get a burger anywhere for $5, and he said they don't they don't go easy on it either. It's a good burger. So you know what I'm going to be eating that day. I'm definitely tasting that burger. He was like, we could get you something fancy. And I was like, burgers. So it's going to be a fun time. And this is being put on by our friends at Dark Side Comics. We are so excited to be able to work with them. And shout out to Brian and team for all of the hard work they've been doing to put SiestaCon together. There's still so much going on in the month of April, but just in case you don't have it on your calendar yet, the two biggest things you don't want to miss is April 27th is our Academic Avengers Family Fun Day. It's 11 to 4. There's so many games. It's like a carnival, but you learn stuff too. All a part of Remake Learning Day, so don't miss out on that. And then the weekend after that is, of course, Free Comic Book Day. It's going to be crazy. There are like 4 or 5 comic artists at least that are going to be here. There's some cool vendors. The Shelf Indulgence Book Bus is going to be here, so if you're looking for some novels, you're going to be able to grab some from them. The Manatee Public Library System is going to be out here. We're going to see maybe we're going to have some cosplayers out here. We're going to see some other friends of the community that will be stopping by throughout the day. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then after you, of course, come here and get all your free comics and experience that festival of fun, don't forget to grab some tickets for the Marauders game that night, because it is Star Wars night and you're not going to want to miss that. And that is my last announcement. We just wanted to give a huge shout out and a thank you to our friends, the Bradenton Marauders, for having us out for opening weekend. Congratulations on kicking off the season. It was such a fun, exciting weekend for everybody. It's great to be back in black, as they said, for baseball season. Baseball's back in Bradenton. If you haven't been to a Marauders game, don't miss them. They are so much fun. And we'll be out at like 30 of them this year. So come out there and hang out with us. So now I'm going to take another drink of this incredible wine, and then I'm going to tell you all about this week's comics. All right, so we're going to kick it off with issue 17 of Kaya from Image Comics. I am so excited to see an all-ages title get this high up in numbers. Usually with titles that are all-age friendly, we get only a mini-series. But Kaya is still going strong, and we are about to just keep going, honestly. In this series, we are following Kaya, who is a young girl with a magical arm whose brother is the chosen one and is supposed to be able to bring all this balance back into the world. And so Kaya has decided that it's her job to protect him after their entire village has been destroyed and get him to a place where they can study the magic that he needs to learn. Well, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, but they have finally made it to a much closer place. They are trying to make actual progress in this situation. And in the process, Jin, her brother, has thought he needed to open himself up to the experience of taking magic and to do it quickly. And he ended up taking too much of the spirit plant that he is now trapped essentially in a dark spirit coma, and he is trying to get out, and only Kaya can save him before it's too late, because they have been found by the evil emperor who is coming for all of them. And so Kaya in this issue is doing her best to save Jin and get them ready for whatever lies on the other side. But Kaya is tired of running, and she is ready for a fight. So it may mean that her brother is going to have to step up and get his battle self ready in a way that he hasn't had to do ever before. So great book. We've got the first 2 arcs in trade paperback format already, so if you haven't jumped in yet, you can grab those and get started and then jump into this one. Again, all ages friendly. We actually have a customer who has listed Kaya on his list of like strong female characters that he is building up a collection for his daughter for, which I love to hear that. So grab that for yourself if you haven't yet. We've got the return of Grimm with issue 16 from Boom Studios. This is one of Stephanie Phillips' independent books that is still going strong, and I love to see this. If you haven't read this yet, this is about a woman named Jessica who is a Grim Reaper, and she is supposed to be helping bring, the dead across to the underworld. And in the very first issue, she learns that there is something very different about her and her connection to this afterlife situation. And on top of that, in that very first issue, we see Death kind of get destroyed, essentially. And so over the last 16, we've seen her and her friends working to put Death back where it goes. You know, nobody is dying. Nobody is able to cross over properly. Reapers don't have a job to do. It's just become a big, giant mess. And Original Sin kind of seems to be out and about all over the place again. And only Jessica can stop that. And so she is working with her team to figure out how that's going to happen. And in this issue, we have met a priest who thinks he can help them. But he's like, before I help you, you need to understand what it's like to go to war. And he tells a story about being in a war zone and a friend of his and himself being shot, and him needing some help and trying to find it and finding it in an unlikely place. And yet the way that works out is never the way that we need it to. And so if you haven't jumped into Grimm yet, grab the first volume in trade paperback and really check it out. It's such a cool concept for a book, and it just continues to dive a little bit deeper in every issue. Antarctica, issue 10 from Image and the Top Cow imprint. Now, I had read that this was the last issue of this. I don't know if that's true. It feels like we've kind of left it to where we can keep going, but we're going to find out. This is the story of a girl named Hannah who, when she's young, her dad disappears while he's doing this research down in Antarctica, and she kind of spends her whole life getting prepared to go to the same place he did. And when she gets down there, finally, she learns that the world in Antarctica wasn't the same as she thought. There's so much more to her dad's situation, including finding a path to a parallel dimension. And in the process of discovering that, she also finds out that there's a different one of her, and she's not sure what's going on, where this came from, and what her dad's involvement is. And so in the first arc of the story, we kind of followed Hannah as she was figuring all that out. In this second arc, we have been following the story of her dad and what happened to him and kind of what led to that. And we're going to see those two stories kind of connect a little bit in this issue. And so that's why I'm like, we could use a third volume that really just tells us some more to it, but at the same time, like, maybe they're going to leave us with this open ending that makes us kind of put the pieces together. If you can stand the cold of staring at Antarctica, you should definitely read this book for just one of those weird alternate dimensions come together, what's real and what isn't kind of stories. Ghost Lore, issue 9 from Boom Studios. This is all about a father and a daughter who have a shared experience, which leads them both with the ability to see ghosts. And the thing about the dad is he's been a pastor his whole life, and so he's always been the person that shepherded people over. Well, he's so upset after what happens with him and his daughter that he doesn't want to have to help shelter ghosts to the afterlife when he finds out that's his mission. But his daughter feels like this is the first time in her life where she wants to be a part of that. And so they end up going their separate ways, only to find out that there is a lot more to this world of people who can see ghosts. And so we've got the people who are positive and wanting to help put things back together and help ghosts along the way, but we've got someone who is a part of a dark society, and a storm is coming, and we are going to see some very ghostly encounters get really, really dark and creepy, and some bad things are definitely on the horizon for all of these people in this story. End After End. This is the special double-sized finale issue, so I believe it's still technically considered issue 9, but this is from Vault Comics. This has been a long time coming. We've kind of been on hold for what was going to happen with this. So major recap of this story happens at the beginning, which is basically that a human has landed in a fantasy world, and he's kind of the chosen one, essentially, because he is the only human from the outside world who's been brought here, and he has been training to help them save the day against this darkness. And he finally gets to the point where we're at that crescendo of the climax where it's like you have to do the right thing. And he kind of doesn't necessarily make the right choice initially. And in this epic battle of good versus evil, that one little hesitation almost cost everybody their lives and their experience. And his whole thing about his whole life and him coming here was that he's just always wanted to do something monumentous that made him a hero. And there's this great moment in here where he just talks about how he can't be a hero because he doesn't ever do these big triumphant things. And they kind of tell him that, like, who told you that to be a hero you had to do the grand gestures? Why can't it be the little things that we do each day and the decisions we make, and that is a giant spoiler, so I'm not going to show you that. The decisions that we make along the way, like why can't some of those things lead us to being heroes and being heroic? And so a really great wrap up, a great way to combine this into 2 issues and just tell us like what's going to go on in the end of this. And I'm like, everything of course at the end is going to be a spoiler, so I'm not going to tell you too much more. But if you are a fan of books that kind of feel like you're on a D&D campaign, or if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan in general, this is a great book for that, because it does feel like quest centric for all of the characters. Void Rivals, issue 8 from Image and Skybound Imprint, and of course our Energon universe. This was our kickoff to the combination of Transformers and G.I. Joe coming together, and this has kind of stayed a little separate. In the very beginning, we saw, one Transformer that kind of said, hey, by the way, Transformers are going to exist in this universe. This is what this is. And yet it has basically stayed the story of these 2 people who are from opposing worlds that have been told that the other is the enemy no matter what. And they realize when these 2 people crash land together on the same planet in the middle of their fight that there's actually nothing different about them. And maybe they've been lied to this whole time. And so over the course of these last 8 issues, these 2 have been trying to prove that to the people. But of course, the powers that be don't want that to happen. And so they have been exiled and are trying to fight from the outside and get to a world where they can make that happen. We're gonna see how that plays out, and it's really starting to hit some big moments. This is kind of one of those issues that makes a big turn for what's going to happen. So if you've been a Void Rivals fan and you haven't caught up, or if you're like, I've been on the fence about Void Rivals and I need some action to pull me in because those first couple issues were high in like exposition and story, you've hit your action point in your Void Rivals. Big things are happening. They're happening very quickly. So get in this, because I have a feeling whatever is going to be some big connecting points, we're going to find them again very soon. The Sacrificers, issue 7 from Image Comics and Rick Remender. Now, this is, I'm still going to say it, I'm still putting it out there, this is my favorite Rick Remender book of all time. It is such a good story. This is all about a world where there's some gods, and the way that they stay young and godly is by making families sacrifice a member of their family to them constantly. And so we've gotten to the point where the different communities and different types of characters all basically just raise a kid in their family to be the sacrifice, and so they don't connect with them at all. Priestesses are groomed to be sacrifices, all kinds of things. And one of the main characters to this story has been the daughter of the sun and the moon. And she has been going through a lot of crazy things over the last few issues. And in this issue, we are hearing the stories that her mother told her as a kid of how you can overcome all of the things that are coming your way, and how darkness is going to hit you. And like the more you age, the more bad things will happen, and yet those bad things are a part of what we have to go through in life. Rick did such a great job writing this issue. It's such a beautiful story in here, and yet and it moves the thing along in such an incredible way and still leaves you gasping at the end for what's going to happen next. I love Max Fuamara's art on this. It's been so beautiful. He's drawing some great worlds and some designing some fantastic characters. If you have not started Sacrificers, I'm going to mention it again in a minute, but the first trade paperback is out, so you can get that first arc and you can fall in love with it. It made my top fantasy books for last year. It got several awards at the Backtastic Awards that we did at the end of the year. So I'm a big proponent of this book, and again, this was my favorite Rick Remender book, or is my favorite Rick Remender book, and one of my favorite books from last year. So it still continues to impress me with every issue. So make sure you grab that series and fall in love with it. Speaking of falling in love with books, Ranger Academy issue 6 is out from Boom Studios, and I still love this book, and I still don't know enough about Power Rangers to ever be considered a Power Rangers like aficionado in any way. But this is a story of a young girl who is found on a remote moon living only with her father by these two Ranger students who go to Ranger Academy to become Power Rangers, and they crash land there, and they essentially just bring her back with them and are like, you should be at Ranger Academy. she has gone through some trials to try to figure out her first challenge, which is like, what kind of Power Ranger will you be? Like, what color of a Power Ranger are you going to be? Of course, the different kinds of Rangers are another level of triumph and challenges yet to come. And she has learned something about herself that she didn't want to know, and she now has even more secrets that she's keeping from everybody, except one of the other students has figured it out. And so they are trying to figure out a solution to this crazy situation that she's putting everybody in. And now, to make all of that more challenging, it's Parents Weekend. And if you have ever gone to a university where you lived on campus, or where you have ever been in a school zone at all, where you're like, I live away from my family and suddenly my family is here, and it throws you into that shock of like, what are these people doing here and why are they interrupting my daily life schedule in this weird off-balance situation? You know the awkwardness that comes with that. And that is thrown into all of this, where there's actually like life or death, evil versus good kind of situation going on. So it just really escalates the moment for everybody. But this is a fantastic, again, all ages kind of comic. It's fun for Power Rangers fans because you get a whole new lore to your universe. You get to expand that in new ways, and you hear about all of your characters from the past, but see where this is going in the future to really build it out. But if you've never seen Power Rangers, you've never read Power Rangers, it's actually just a really fun story that you don't have to know anything about Power Rangers to be into. I love it. Again, was never a Power Rangers fan. This might be like my Power Rangers forever now. Time Traveler's Tales, issue 5 from Dark Horse, and this is the wrap up of this story. This is another all ages title that I've absolutely adored. It is all about a young boy who is given a watch that helps him travel through time, and he's going on all of these adventures, which we have seen in the first, we saw in the first 3 issues. Well, in issue 4, we learned that there was a dark entity who was trying to steal every Time Turner's watch, and in order to do that, he had to kill them. So, of course, he's coming for our main character now. We actually got to see his backstory, which is very tragic and very beautifully written. And so now in this issue, we have our major standoff of our main character and all of the people he's encountered, essentially, who can help him stand against this dark entity who wants to destroy time seekers other than himself and get the powers that they all possess so that he can go back and actually overwrite time and change fixed moments. And we see how that plays out for him in, again, just a beautiful all ages story. And of course, this one, just the power of friendship and the wonders that we see was so good. If you did not read it, it's over. You can grab all 5 issues. I'm sure there'll be a collected edition. Dark Horse, if you're listening, you should put it into the smaller digest size, because it would make a great book for kids to throw in their backpacks and read at school. So you should definitely make a digest size of this and not a full-size trade if you're listening, and definitely not a hardcover. Just throwing that out there. And speaking of Dark Horse, they have ads on all the back of their books for their free comic book day titles this year. I'm super excited. They've got a new Hellboy book. And this adorable Young Jedi Adventures that they're going to be giving away for free comic book day this year. So again, May 4th, free comic book day. Make sure you're prepared. Up next, we have Crave with one of those covers that hopefully is fine for Facebook. This is issue 5. It is Maria Levitt's newest title, so it gets a little racy, of course, but it is a fantastic story about a bunch of college kids who I'll make sure this is all safe. Okay. Who discover an app that asks you, what do you crave? And basically tells you, like, yes, you can make that happen. Here's how you do it. And helps people do that. And, of course, for college students, it's all drinking and partying and doing stupid, crazy things. And now it has gotten out of hand. And we've learned from one of the students that there is basically this is basically all just a situation that they're trying to experiment on these teenagers and college-age students. I guess they're in their 20s if they're older college students. And they are trying to see if they can control people's minds through this and how far they can push people. And it is going to get really, really bad in this issue. And so they are trying to stop this in whatever way they can. They're trying to figure it out before it's too late. And as of issue 5, it might be too late. So we're going to figure out where this goes in the next issue, I believe, which is the conclusion. But people make bad decisions when they think there's no repercussions for what they're doing. And so, tell us what you crave, we'll make it happen, isn't always a good thing. So, there you go. I really love that book. It's crazy. It's off the wall. They make some bad decisions, and you're just like, why would you do that? But then you remember that they're college students. So we've got Guma, the beginning of Her, issue 5 from Titan Comics. This is Ji-Hong Lee writing and doing the art and everything, and it's been such an interesting concept of a book. It is all about a woman who worked in a brothel, 2 women that worked in a brothel, I guess. One of them raised the money to get out from the mobster that controlled them, gave it to the other. Did not work out for either of them. He did not appreciate the way that was going down. And so now we've got one of them essentially has been resurrected and has become this dark queen of the entire city, and she is running and controlling all things with her magic. But here's the thing. There are more characters in play in this story, and that has been the coolest thing, is because she was doing all of this because she wanted to protect her daughter, and now it may be her daughter that will be the one who brings her down. We're going to figure this out as the story goes on, but it has gotten, we've got a detective who's doing some investigations. We've got these zombie-like ministry people who work for her. We've got all of these other like dark shrouded figures that are just kind of doing her work, including like controlling the police. Our villainess has lost sight of what her original goal was, and so we're going to see who becomes the ultimate, and what can we do to save this world as these worlds collide in probably the next issue. King Kong, The Great War, issue 5 from Dynamite. Another comic that we've had a big giant delay on. We had this first war came out a lot, like almost last summer. It feels like we're finally back to this book. Kong fans, this is, I'm sure, a perfect time, because we did just recently have a new Godzilla Kong movie. Please don't spoil it in the comments for anybody who hasn't seen it. But if you didn't catch those first 4 issues, this is about a ship of people during World War I that crash land on, of course, Skull Island, and they have been trying to figure out how to get themselves off of this island. And of course, if you know anything about Skull Island, you know that everything on there can kill you. The plants are like kaiju, the animals are kaiju size, King Kong is there, so it's like anything and everything it could kill you, and probably will, because nothing is safe. And so this group of people, this group of soldiers is down to a small handful compared to the boatload that arrived, and they are finally getting to where they think they're getting close to cutting down to where their ships may be, where civilization may lead them. And Kong's just really fast, and things just happen, and it's great. It's a great Kong movie in the making. So for all of you Kong fans, or people who just saw the new Godzilla vs. Kong movie who are looking for a little bit more of the great ape, here you go. Get in there. I'm going to take another drink of this wine. We are drinking Artesania, Portugal. Today, it's a red. It is fantastic. Like we said at the beginning, it's very light on the front half, but then has a lot of spice and flavors that come your way on the back half that kind of tingle on your tongue for a little bit. So I'm going to take another drink. It's just so good. I really do like that almost afterburn of deliciousness. I just want to sit in the moment with it. Like, it's so good. Anyway, if you haven't tried it before, Total Wine carries it. So we are going to hit the One Hand issue 3 from Image Comics. This is Ram V's newest title that has a companion title called The Six Fingers from Dan Waters. And this is all about this side, the One Hand, is all about a detective who was supposed to be retiring, and on the day of his last day, he had the cake, all the things happen. Somebody comes in and is like, hey, we just found information that basically like the One Hand killer is back. But as far as he knew, he put the One Hand killer in jail years ago for the second time. Because this has happened before, where somebody has come up and said the One Hand killer is back, and he's like, this cannot be happening again. I can't retire. I have to solve this case. But the further he gets into the case, the more sloppy he becomes and the bigger the situation becomes, and I'm not going to show you that page because I don't want to spoil it. This one, it's kind of spoily, but not as much, and I just really like this cool art. But it's such a fascinating book because we are seeing this side from the detective's point of view, and he thinks he had it all figured out, but now, of course, he's got all this new evidence and new things happening, and the whole thing revolves around the fact that for the first time he's noticed that the killer who paints this image on the wall everywhere he goes has a little tiny splotch, and he realizes that this killer may be six-fingered man or person in general. And so he is now trying to investigate. He's in this issue. He goes and investigates the last person he put in jail for the killing and gets some information from him that kind of leads him down some different paths. It's such a cool book, and you get Ron V's incredible writing, which is always fantastic. And then you do get that companion of the Six Fingers, and it is also incredible to see just two, like that being from the killer's point of view, to see these two cross-path books, and something we don't see a lot, like where it's like two stories told at the same time where they both stand alone, but when you read them together, you just get this full-bodied story that, like this wine, leaves a great taste in your mouth afterwards. Cruella de Vil, issue 3 from Dynamite's Disney Villains line, or just their Disney line in general. At this point, they have so many Disney titles coming out from Dynamite. This one has honestly been one of the biggest built-out stories, though, that we've seen. This is all about Cruella post what happened in 101 Dalmatians. So she's gone to prison, she's on the rehab, and the dogs are not having it. So, of course, every time Cruella tries to do something, dogs attack her everywhere she goes. But Cruella has had a plan that she is going to sell a bunch of her clothing, and that's how and then she's going to donate the money to a bunch of dog charities, and that's going to be how she, like, gets over the fact that people hate her. Except another woman has decided she needs Cruella's attention, and she is going to do anything to get it, because she wants Cruella to help her steal the royal family's jewels. And so Cruella, who is absolutely over crime and would never be a part of anything like that, must decide if she truly is, or if she would rather have all of the wonders and fabrics and beautiful clothes that this woman can provide for her with the money she would make from selling these jewels. So we're going to see Cruella get back into a life of crime, possibly, and make some poor decisions. And at the very beginning, the dogs said they were going to work to take her down. So we're going to see also if the neighborhood dogs are going to let that happen. Also, we've got a goat now, and he's fantastic. He's wonderful. I hope he stays in. He was in the last 2 issues, and if he's gone now, I don't know. You might lose your selling point because he's so cute. Crashdown issue 3 from What Not Publishing. This is written by Comic Tom, who you may know if you are somebody who speculates on comics. He is one of the bloggers that really talks about the value of comics a lot. And this is the story of our world being completely and totally destroyed. And so we have put everybody on a spaceship. They were all supposed to be cryo-frozen until they got to the new planet that we got to. Turns out something went wrong. All the cryo tubes, were damaged, and everybody's waking up now. So now they have to get onto this planet, whether it's good or not. So they've sent a team down to the planet that they come across. It's not safe. It is monstrous. There are all kinds of bad things. I mean, you might as well have just landed on an alien version of Skull Island, because it is everything. The plants attack you. There's giant creatures that are eating people. There's little tiny creatures that are parasites that are getting inside of people. All kinds of bad things are happening. And then back on the ship, they've realized, hey, we didn't plan for this many people to be awake. We don't have the food to keep everybody awake. We don't have the space to keep everybody awake. But also, we don't have the ships to get everybody off this spaceship in time. So they've decided only a certain amount of people are going to make it onto the ship to go down to the Earth, or the planet that they have found. And so they are trying to do this in a way much like the Titanic, where it's like, ooh, these certain people can get on boats and these can't. And we're going to see who makes it down, who doesn't, and whether or not anybody can survive when they get there. Is going to be a crazy sci-fi adventure for us all. So if you're into sci-fi books, this is definitely one to be snagging and picking up. And if you are into really high fantasy books, this is one for you. This is Dark Souls, the Willow King. This is issue 3. I think it's also Titan Comics. Yeah. And this is a novel series that's being adapted into comics. And it is super high fantasy. It's like reading Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, with some gorgeous, like, high fantasy art styles that go with it. This is all about a world where a flame must remain burning at all times, or the dead can come out and come back and kill everybody. And one king has decided he is not going to do the work to light his flame. So a group of knight type people have decided to take the journey to go and light his flame because the world is being overrun by these dead. And when they are along their path, they are going to have to interact with a lot of the dead that they are supposed to be stopping. It has gotten dark. They are not having the hope and the luck that they were expecting to have. They are facing against some very cemented souls at this point and some almost zombie-esque type characters. So if you are a fan of Lord of the Rings, you absolutely should be reading this book. It reads like one of those high-level video games as well, but I just want to show you this like really wicked-looking guy. He's like, there's going to be some stuff that comes out of this for sure. So I highly recommend high fantasy fans, people who are fans of RPG games and things like that should be reading this. But I've had a couple of people come in specifically asking for it, and I'm like, are you a fan of the novels? And they're like, I didn't even know there were novels. I just heard about this book and it sounded cool. So even if you don't know the novels, you can read it. I've never read the novels, and I know everything that's going on in the book. But if you are a fan, you should definitely be grabbing it for sure. Mortal Terror, issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is one of those concepts that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I think it was a fantastic decision to make this book come to life. But this is essentially our story of Dracula, except instead of Dracula being a vampire, he's the human and everybody else is vampire. So at this point, all of the humans live under the surface, and all of the vampires, live under the surface, and that's our entire society. And there is a faction of people who are fighting against them, a resistance who are all Dracula's people. And you have all of the characters. You have Mina, you have Jonathan, you have Lucy, all the characters you've ever seen Dracula, Dr. Seward, Renfield, they're all there. And actually it's crazy because Renfield is a vampire who wants to be a human in this, and so he's like, Dracula can turn me, I'll be able to be with my wife once I'm human, it'll be amazing. We just met what would normally be considered Dracula's brides in the Dracula franchise in this book, and I am so excited to see where we go with them. But in this issue, we have been trying to go out and stop the human resistance that is coming after us, and it did not go well, and they have taken hostages of some of our vampire leaders, and we are going to see if they are able to make it. Meanwhile, Mina has, of course, fallen in love with Dracula, and she is giving him all the information that it would take to take down these vampires. It's fantastic. If you're a fan of the Dracula story, you definitely need to be reading Mortal Terror, because it's just so cool to see it in such a different way. Neurocron, issue 2 from Invader Comics. This book continues to surprise me with how much I like it. I thought it was going to be a little too cheesy sci-fi for me when I read that first synopsis of it, and it turns out it's not. I actually really like it. This takes place in a futuristic Detroit, and it is about a detective who has a murder investigation, or she's supposed to be just a death, but she's decided there's something going on with it because the guy has these neuro implants in him, which are supposed to be off limits. No matter how much tech and upgrades you do to your body, you're never supposed to be able to do a certain amount of changes to the brain to give people this kind of processing. And so she's like, somebody had to have done this to him. So she decides to go after this guy who is known for creating the biggest tech company. But the thing is that he's been missing for forever. Everybody thinks he's dead. In issue 1, she's like, he's not dead, I'm going to find him. And she does in very early on in issue 1, only to find out that there is a lot that she didn't know and could not have been prepared for. And in issue 2, she is now investigating other opportunities of people who could be the problem. And we are just really seeing how big this this really goes, like how deep it goes, who all's involved with it. I love it because as a detective story, it's done so well to where she's like, oh, I think I figured it out and it's this. And then 2 pages later, you're in this conversation with her and it's like, I don't think that's right anymore. And then she's like, I don't think this is right anymore. And so you're like kind of almost a half step ahead of her, but at the same time not. And the sci-fi dynamics and the stuff that they're creating for this world and the way they're building it out and all the characters are really interesting, especially because we do live in a big tech world right now. And we are having this whole conversation about like, is AI bad and is it not? And is it going to destroy us all? And it's kind of cool to see like, hey, we decided that these regulations needed to come into place for that to stop it. And of course, greedy people are going to do it anyway. And then it's like, but like, who's the greedy one and who's not the greedy one? And it's maybe not the people we think it is. And who do you trust and who don't you trust when everybody's got capitalistic greed in the world? Fascinating the way they're building out these characters. And every issue is kind of like a little bit oversized, not a full double-sized issue, but just a little bit bigger. And, with the great thing about indie small press books is they're usually not overwhelmingly full of ads. So you're also getting all of the pages when you get those thicker books. We've got The Fog, issue 2 from Sumerian Comics. I could literally just tell you if you are a fan of the Fog movie, you should read this comic, and that would be all I have to tell you because it is literally just so much like the Fog that I really wouldn't need to tell you anymore. But I'm still going to tell you about it because it's so cool. So if you've ever seen the Fog movie, you may know that it is about this one island area, cove, I guess is the word to use for it. There's a lighthouse, there's land, people go there. But there's a pirate ship, essentially, that landed. People stole their money, their gold. All this stuff happened. A lot of double crossing, a lot of bad things. Ghost came for them through the fog, killed all the people in the town. And then years later, happened again. Years later, happened again. And somehow people still live here. So we are in the now, and a woman whose family was met on the night that the fog came in the 70s is now here as a podcaster trying to investigate the story using the information she knows. And she has connected with some people who have also survived that time period. And guess what? Shocker! It's suddenly foggy and bad things start happening because people keep living in areas that bad things happen in horror movies, like they didn't learn the lesson the first time. And all of these people are like, oh yeah, the last time this happened, this was really bad. So anyway, like I'm going to go out and get a drink. And you're like, you were there last time. Don't you know what happened? Like, don't you remember? You just told me in the whole page, like, that you remembered what happened last time and all the terrible stuff about it. And guess what? You're doing it again. I have no sympathy for you if something happens. And then something happens and you're like, oh man, that sucks. I really like that guy. And you're like, okay, maybe I did have sympathy. Anyway, if you are a fan of the movie, you are absolutely going to enjoy this because it is just the movie. And I love, because it is a comic and not a movie, the way they're able to draw like the fog moving in is really creepy. And then the way they draw silhouettes like in the fog, because there's something in the fog, is also really creepy and cool. And at the same time, it still has 1970s B movie feel to the whole thing, which makes me love it. And grab issues 1 and 2 because both are out now. Put on some John Carpenter music and just turn all your lights off except for one lamp and enjoy, because that's what you need to do. Like, it's fantastic. Torpedo, 1972, issue 2 from Ablaze. This is a very adult title that should have trigger warnings on it because it is one of those mobster movie style titles that has the Gaius Crass that we're following. Like, Torpedo is a very, very terrible man who will hopefully get his comeuppance in the end. Like, I hate him so much, and that just means that the writers are doing a great job because I hate him. But he is a former mob leader who, in our first issue, we see a journalist come to interview him because he's trying to get the story that'll make him famous. And he's like, I'm going to interview this guy who is allegedly the only one that knows what happened to this other mob leader who was killed years ago. And the man does something really terrible to the photographer, who is the fiance of the journalist. And he decides, you know what? I'm going to name this mobster as the person who killed the guy because I want all the other mobsters to go after him for all the bad things he did to my fiance. And so in this issue, Torpedo, the man himself, is like, you know what? I got to get ahead of all this. I'm just going to go after that family and let them know what actually happened. And they don't take it well. They don't believe him. They don't care. They're like, we think you're shady and you're a bad person. So Torpedo, who's an old man, has to do some fighting of his own. And then we see what goes on. So this is an old retired mobster who may not be so retired anymore. Again, he's a very bad person. I really just want him to get what's coming to him. And I'm kind of invested in the story for that reason. But we're going to, it is very adult. And so do not like leave it lying around kind of thing. But if you are into mobster stories, this is definitely going to be, where is this going? Like, who is this guy and where is he going? Again, I want to see him get his comeuppance at this point because he's just an awful human. Minor Threats is back with The Fastest Way Down, issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics. And this is Patton Oswalt's big title that he's been working on over the last couple of years. If you did not read the original Minor Threats, I think you can honestly start jumping into some of these that Patton and Jordan are doing on their own at this point. We learned in this one, they kind of view a really good backstory to the fact that there was a lot of superheroes and a lot of the major criminals were taken out. And so the minor level villains stepped in and they had to take over running all the crime syndicate. And now one of them, who actually just wants to protect her town, but is doing it, like, was raised as a criminal, kind of always been a criminal, but now she just wants to see her town be taken care of. She's doing a double duty. She's working as a philanthropist in the area, but also taking out crime families that are doing bad things. So she's kind of just become a vigilante, but she's supposed to just be living a life now, like, straight and narrow, trying to do it on the up and up instead of on the back alley scene, but she's not very good at that. And so in this very first issue, some of the crime families that are supposed to have fallen into law and order under her jurisdiction are not listening to her, and while she's being advised not to get her hands dirty, that's just not the way she does things. And so this minor threat might become a major threat to some people who aren't listening and who are challenging her because she's a woman. And so she's kind of awesome. But if you haven't read it, again, Minor Threats does have a trade paperback that's the whole collection of the original Minor Threat series. But if you have it and you're looking for a jumping in point, again, these little like mini series that Patton and Jordan are writing are actually really fantastic for just getting to know the characters. It's almost starting to become like the Hellboy universe, where there was that original collection and then everything's like a 2-part mini series that you can jump in on and kind of get to know different characters. It's starting to feel big in that capacity, so now's kind of the time to get into finding that spot for you. It is Ghost Machine month. The month of April, we are seeing the launch of the Ghost Machine books. So if you got that one shot last month that was the foundational like piece that showed off the new publishing imprint, I guess collective, that we'll call it Ghost Machine, which is going to be under the Image distribution branch, but is run by Jeff Johns and a slew of incredible creators who you know from a lot of your big 2 favorites. They are come together to launch their own collective that's going to be publishing through Image, and the first 3 titles, which are actually all Jeff Johns titles with some of his favorite artists, are out now. And so we're going to launch this first and foremost with Geiger, which is kind of rebooting right here. If you read Geiger in 2021, 2020, was 2021? 2020. 2021. If you launched with Geiger back in 2021, you know this is the Radioactive Man. We got a new launch of him last year as well, and now we are seeing a little bit more of him again. This is going to be a new ongoing because Geiger is going to kind of be one of the foundational pieces of the new Ghost Machine universe that Jeff Johns is building. And so if you haven't read it before, they do a really great job of telling you who Geiger is and what he's going through. They've got a little recap in here, but also they kind of put you in a place where he's on a new adventure, and it's at the same time kind of the whole thing is this is a man who got cancer and became radioactive trying to treat it, and is now this radioactive man who goes around and, you know, defends the weak because he doesn't know what else to do. But in this issue, a guy who has been inspired by what he does and decided, you know, I've always been a bad person. I don't want to be a bad person anymore. I want to help people as well. Comes to him and says, also, by the way, not only do I want to do that, but I've heard of another person who was like you and found a cure for it. And Geiger's like, no way, that's not a thing. And then it's like, well, what if it is a thing? Maybe I should take this man's offer into consideration. And so they're going to go on this adventure to figure out, like, who Geiger is, where he, like, and if he can become what he once was before. And you do actually get a little bit of his backstory in this issue, so it does help you kind of, again, if you haven't ever read Geiger before, launch into it. And since we're connecting these stories, this is the other big part of Jeff Johns' big universe, which is Redcoat. And this is your launch point. He did give us a little teaser of this as well in the Ghost Machine one shot that came out, but this is the full version of Redcoat's launch right here. And this is about a man who, back in when we were fighting the Redcoats, obviously, he was a Redcoat, and he was really like one of those guys who was like, it's the 1700s, like, it's literally December 25th, 1776. He's like, I don't want to be a part of all this. I'm just kind of trying to survive. And in the process, he ends up discovering a secret ceremony going on with a lot of the founding fathers, in which they are trying to make Ben Franklin eternal. And I'm going to show you this. He's trying to have like this everlasting life, and this guy accidentally literally falls into it, and now he can't die, except he had no positive reasons for wanting to do this or no desire to actually be an immortal person. And so now he has been living his life in all of the wrong ways. It's just killing people, scandaling people, running up tabs at every bar in the world and then just disappearing. He's died a lot, but he doesn't stay dead because he's immortal. And so we have fast forwarded to 1892, and he is still running away from everybody, making poor decisions. And it looks like he has made a bed he can't lie in because he can't die, and has found somebody who is here who wants to help him. A young boy who, I'm not going to tell you who he is, but a young boy who is like, I need you. You are the key to what I am doing with my life and what I'm doing with this idea that I have. And so we must team up together. And so this terribly horrible man who can't die and this boy Wonder are going to team up and bring something out. And I'm going to show you that this cover is a wraparound cover. This is also the very last issue that I have of this. So if you are in need of it, let me know now. So, because this is going to go back on the wall for probably 37 seconds. And then the last new book, this is the Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok book that everybody's been excited from the Ghost Machine series. And this is Rook Exodus. And I'm going to open this up because this is also a wraparound cover and kind of let you see that right now. But this is the story that I had the most requests for, and after reading this first issue, I know we're going to see even more people becoming obsessed with this book because it's a fantastic story. This is all about, we are destroying the earth as per usual, and they're like, hey, we've got to send a bunch of people to this new planet. We're a company called Better World. We're going to send people out to this planet. On this planet, they're going to cultivate. Everything is going to be bigger. It's Exodus planet. It's filled with like larger animals and more water. That's all controlled. Like all the greenery is controlled. Well, we overestimate our abilities and our skills, and now this planet that we built, that we were like, we're going to be the masters of nature, that's not how that works. We're never going to master nature. Stop trying to master nature. It's just not going to happen. And so nature has fought back. Well, one of the things that we had planned to do to master nature is we have brought in a group of people who were working for Better World, who were going to be the ones who controlled animals. And so they created all of these helmets that help people sync their thoughts with the animals on the planet so that they never get like out of control and nothing happens. And so now a couple of those people are still around, one being Rook. The other being Swine, who can talk to pigs. Rook talks to blackbirds specifically. And then we have Dire Wolf. And they, as far as they know, are kind of some of the only people left. They're running out of food. There's not really a lot of water left on the planet. There's not really a lot of supplies. There's just absolutely nothing. And every time somebody tries to build a ship that is remaining and get off the planet, the ship usually explodes or they don't really make it out of the atmosphere. And so Rook has been working to build his own ship to get them off the planet. But it is not necessarily going so well. And his time where he has been interlocking his thoughts with the birds is starting to really, really get to him. So he's starting to try to get further away from talking to the animals and letting the animals speak through him, but it is not going so well because he needs them to survive at this point, and vice versa. We get a lot of backstory about how he ended up there, which was actually like really cool. And we get to see a lot of what's going on this planet, and this is a huge first issue. Everything that you kind of see teasers for in that Ghost Machine one-shot kind of work their way into here. But then they build out the world so much bigger. Honestly, like when I read the Ghost Machine one-shot teaser, I was like, oh, that's going to probably be the Jeff Johns one. That's my favorite. And then I read this and I was like, that did not do this justice. Like that little teeny tiny teaser in the Ghost Machine one-shot did not build out the universe in the way that Jeff did in this issue. And he did such a fantastic job world building. Jason did such an incredible job drawing it and really just bringing it to life. This is going to be such a strong piece of the Ghost Machine puzzle. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed to this one so you don't miss it going forward. And we're probably going to need second prints of all of these, Jeff, because they're just flying off the shelves. That's the last one of all of them, actually. None of them have any more on our shelves. So if you're interested, that's it. And make sure you add it to your pull list for future. We've got the launch of Akugan, Brutalizer of the Gods from Oni Press this week as well. I love this. The most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose, is the quote on the back. And that is one of the times where a quote has perfectly summed up what is going to happen in a story before I opened it. This is all about a god who is a drunkard and ends up getting into so much trouble. Like he steals resources from other gods and goes against their laws and makes an entire planet to just drink and have his merriment, and the gods are mad about it, and so he gets brought in by the gods, destroyed by the gods, tortured by the gods kind of situation, and they're like, we're taking away all of your status. Well, he made sure that would never be the end of him, and so he brought forth a future that would unveil with a man being born someday who would be the one to go after the gods who went after him. And so we have seen the birth of Akugan, who is here now to destroy all the gods. And we see him as he goes through fighting all of these creatures in this first issue, and in the name of his mother and his father, he is trying to avenge, essentially. This book has such a big opening. It's really you get to know all the gods that are important to the story. You get to see what kind of creatures and stuff we're going to be dealing with, but you also just get to see a lot of information about this really awesome character, Akugan, and his family, his mother and father, who had this beautiful, wonderful life in this small village where he was taught, don't ever give up, son. Go for the best that you can find. And something we know happens. We don't know what it is, but something happens to these parents. And now he is after the gods. And that is the plight that was made for him long before he was ever born. And I cannot wait to see how he just kind of starts going after everybody, because seeing him take down these monsters was a really cool thing. And so we're going to see where this goes, but a great first start from Akugan. And it has D. Knuth and Husan Atsmane Allahu, D being one of our best colorists last year, and Hassan, who is one of my favorite letterers and won my Batastic Award for Best Letterer last year. So Kill Your Idols. This is a one-shot from Image. This is not connected to the Zoe Thorogood / Back to School. In Back to School, she is young again, and we're seeing Cassie first learn about slashers and all of the things that she's going to be doing to take them out. This is her as an adult. she is working with Vlad to slash all these monsters, and she absolutely hates it. And we get to kind of see her team up with a lot of 90s Image characters in this one. We could bring back, I think you saw him on the cover, Shadowhawk, but we see a lot of like young blood. We see, oh my gosh, who all did they come in here with? They like name them all, and it's kind of hilarious because you're like, oh, are they really going there? And then they do. Like, basically, if there's a team that has the name Blood in it in 90s Image comics, they bring it up. They even make that joke. They're like, hey, what if we formed another team with like all of us on it and it was just something else? And they're like, yeah, but what would we call it? And they're like, I don't know, something with blood in the title, obviously. And it's like, I didn't ever realize how many like blood themed names there were at Image in the 90s, but apparently we were really into that, and Tim Seeley kind of makes some jokes. But this does bring back a lot of it's the 20-year anniversary. Yeah, 20 bloody years is what this is. So it's kind of just a one-shot to kind of show who she is and who all she's teamed up with and all the things that have happened over the time. So it's kind of like Cassie Hack kills the Image universe, but also just kind of like works with the Image universe at the same time. So yeah, it's just fun. It's fantastic if you're a Hack Slash fan to just pick this up and kind of relive some of the moments and team-ups that she might have had, as she still is having to make a decision on whether or not she wants to continue to do this, which of course is what Cassie's always dealing with, and of course she always ends up continuing to go. Continuing our one-shot excitement, we've got Archie and Friends Hot Rod Racing #1, or one-shot, from Archie Comics, and of course we always get a new character in our news story, so we've got the introduction of Daisy Thunder, who is a member of the Southside Serpents and a hot rod racer who has been Archie's nemesis in hot rod racing. And he is in a race and he's like, I'm gonna win. And then she shows up and he's like, I have to beat her because if I beat her, I can impress her and then she'll like me, which is 100% just Archie all the time. And so they have their little race and they go against each other, and it's really fun just to see, all the hijinks that ensue. And then, of course, we always get a bunch of older stories from throughout the Archie history whenever we have an Archie story. And so the first one is, one of the first backup story is Betty asks Archie if he's going to come to her class and help her teach kids. And he's like, oh, well, I promised Ronnie that, or I promised myself I would enter the hot rod race that Ronnie is giving away the trophies for. Like, I really want to win a prize from Veronica. And Betty's like, but you promised. And Archie's like, well, I want Veronica to be there. So, of course, what does Betty do? She just invites Veronica to her thing so that she can ensure that Archie doesn't get his way unless she gets her help. And then we get a really classic little racy story from Archie dreaming about what it would be like to be a NASCAR racer and go through all of the moments. And again, hijinks ensue because Archie always makes terrible decisions. So it's literally called Racy Story. That's the name of it. I love it. And then we've got Drag Drama, which is from one of the Betty and Veronica stories. And I love this because Betty and Veronica are walking by the boys, and Veronica's like, all the boys are here. Get ready for wolf whistles. And then none of the boys pay attention to them because they're working on their car. And Veronica's like, what? The only thing worse than boys whistling at you is boys not whistling at you. Oh my gosh. And so the girls are like, we have to figure out how to get the boys' attention. So of course Veronica goes home and is like, I'm going to put on my cutest outfit. And Betty goes home and is like, I'm going to go actually be an auto mechanic because that's what I'm good at. And we see how that plays out for the two of them and in the story. And it's just always fun to see Betty and Veronica get into their own little mess of trouble. And then I do believe we had, one more story where Moose and Dilton are trying to win some races. And Dilton is like, oh, I've come up with a plan. As long as Moose is on my side, I can't lose. And of course, Moose always messes things up in the end. So you get a lot of stories in this one. I think it's like 5 or 6 in the end, but you just get all of the different time periods of Archie. It's so much fun, and I really like Daisy Thunder and her hair and her outfit. So we've got a new one-shot from Keenspot, Can I Scream, from Jonathan Hedrick and Francesca Francini. This is possibly going to keep going, but it is technically like the end question mark kind of situation. But this is about a young boy who has the power kind of similar to Black Bolt, where if he screams or if he lets out like too much volume on anything he says, that he's going to destroy things. And it starts with a mom being called into the principal's office because a couple of boys are saying that he beat them up, and the principal's like, you have to take your son out of our school, and she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so it turns out he has the superpower. They've been trying to keep this kid in hiding. There are lots of people coming after them, so they've now got to go on the run again, and we see how the mom and son kind of work together, and how they're able to work together is really interesting. It was a nice little twist that Jonathan and Francesca put into the story, but we get to see just this kid just be a super cool, like, kind of a hero, but kind of also just like a kid who wants to live his life, and yet he knows when it's time to do the right thing. And it would make a really great, like, perfect one shot, but also if we got to see more of these characters, I really love the mom character, and I really want to see how the boy continues to adapt to his power. So we could keep this going, and it would be really great. So Jonathan, I know you might see this, so if you do, keep it going. It's going to be great. We're going to go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the April special one shot. Get it? Because it's April, but April O'Neil is a Ninja Turtles character. This is, if you've been following along with the TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures, you know that recently they stopped Shredder, but because of all the dimensional stuff that they tore up with the time sword that they were using, there's all this dimensional fallout. And so dinosaurs have been showing up and crazy things have been happening all around town. Well, April's doing a story about it. She ends up getting sucked through one of the dimensions and lands in another place where she is forced to find her way out. And she is helping Ace Duck solve an adventure very Indiana Jones-esque. They are trying to find the heart of this temple so that they can make a wish to, in her case, get back home. In his case, find his dad, who he's always been missing. But they're mostly just trying to get it away from the bad guys. Meanwhile, the turtles are, like, Donatello's like, hey, everything's been disappearing. So in theory, April should just show back up whenever the time stuff wears off in the same way that everything else did. But the doctor and Leo and everybody are like, ooh, let's not risk it. We should probably try to find April. So they've been going through all these dimensions trying to find April. Meanwhile, Raphael and Michelangelo are like, we're out of here. We're going to go on our own adventure. So you do get a backup story from Raphael and Michelangelo's point of view as they stop some bad guys, with Mona Lisa returning into the comics for the first time ever. I don't know. Has Mona Lisa ever been in the comics? I know. Has she? So. Yes? Okay. It does say Mona Lisa returns, but of course this is, I believe, her first time in the Saturday Morning Adventure series so far. But yeah, so for you Turtles fans, this is just always a fun time. And again, since this is a one-shot, you can jump in right here and just enjoy it. Are you looking up if Mona Lisa's been in the comics before? Cool. We've got some one-shots coming to us from Valiant. Valiant's been picked up by Alien Books, and they are giving us some of our titles we haven't seen in a while in oversized one-shots. And so the first one is Britannia, the Great Fire of Rome. This is, of course, based on the concept of the fire that happened that Nero may or may not have set. It's up in the air. We're actually going to work on the investigation of that in this story. We are following our great detective as he's hired by Nero, who is like, hey, I want you to pinpoint this on one particular group just so I have a reason to go after this group. And he's like, that's not what I do. I detect. I'm going to figure it out. Meanwhile, he has been hired by a woman who may or may not be using magic to control what he does to find her brother, who she says is missing in Rome, and she needs to find him because she's super worried about him. And so he is doing both of these investigations quite poorly most of the time because he's not getting anywhere with them. But he ends up falling in love with this woman again, maybe not of his own volition, he is forced to go through, and all of the time, like, the city of Rome is burning, and it's like, hey, are you going to solve this problem? Like, come on, dude. And so he does start to do his investigation. He finds some big, important meaning. He teams up with some of the Vestia virgins and kind of gets some information from them. So if you're a fan of the Roman Empire, which according to TikTok, everybody is, you need to grab this book. It is a one-shot. You don't have to know anything about these characters in any capacity to find out about them and enjoy this story. It's all self-contained, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely pick it up, and I love the commentary that it has, not only on Nero, but a lot of the other things that were going on at that exact time. We also have Livewire and the Secret Weapons, another one-shot from Valiant and Alien Books to kind of tell us where these Valiant characters are before they bring them back into comics through Alien Books. And so this is about Livewire, who is a woman who can access the internet. Like, she can go into the mainframe, she can be a part of it, and she has cut herself off from all technology and is living with all of the other superheroes that she's protected, and is kind of helping them train themselves on using their powers a little more while she is ignoring hers. In a therapy session, she realizes that what's feeling disconnected for her is that she's not connected to the Wi-Fi, and so she's not even sleeping well because she feels unconnected to the world. And so they end up giving her some sleeping pills, and when she is asleep, she thinks that she is traveling safely to the internet and to the world at large, but she's actually being pulled there by an evil character who you will discover as you move along. And she is being manipulated and abused, and the only way that she can be saved is by the people who, you know, are on the outside, maybe figuring out what's going on before she can, because she's so trapped in it that we start to lose sight of what's real and what isn't, which is a really cool way to write the story, because you're kind of like, ooh, where are we at right now? So check it out. Again, if you don't know these characters, that's okay. This is kind of your introduction to these characters, so that when Alien Books brings back all the Valiant characters, you can start jumping in on those titles. And then lastly, from our regular books out this week, we've got Deep Cuts issue 6 from Image Comics, which should have been way over there. But I read it last and I didn't throw it back into the order. So, but these are really technically one-shots, even though they do have numbers on them. This is an anthology series that is from Kyle Higgins. It does not connect to the Black Market Narratives Massive Verse, which is all you're reading in Black Title Seasons. They're no way or shape or form connected. These are one-shots that are all about music in American history, and this one takes place in 1977, and it talks about a band featuring a jazz musician who they're all starting to play disco music, and they don't really want to do that. And so they're kind of dealing with a lot of the struggle of nobody wanting to play the music they're playing, but none of them really wanting to break up and nobody wanting to go anywhere. And a couple of jazz greats pass away, and the saxophone player in the band just kind of loses it and doesn't really know what to do with himself. Meanwhile, their synth player is being told to go off on her own because synth music is really about to take off, and they're telling her she needs to, like, really just do her own albums and do all kinds of stuff. And so you've got that I'm going to leave the band person, and the one who's like, oh, what does it even matter? Music doesn't matter anymore. And all these people just kind of learning where they fall and who they're going to fall with, and then just seeing how music impacts us. Like, how do our influences impact us, and how do we become influences for ourselves and for our own future? And it's just such a great book. So if you haven't read them, again, they're all one-shots, but it is an anthology of beautiful music stories. And usually at the end, we get some sheet music, so you can play a song. And this, I don't think this one had it. Oh yeah, it does. It still has some sheet music. So if you ever want to play any of the songs they talk about, they usually list like one song's sheet music at the back just to give you something fun. And then like some, usually like there's an actual like article about some of the people. All right, so we've got some picks of the week. I'm going to take another drink really fast. That's so good. All right, we got do that right now, so when you go to your store, you're not like, I wasn't prepared. It is fantastic, though. You definitely want to read it. This is all about a mermaid. I almost said a little mermaid. This is all about the world's last mermaid, as she is on the hunt for some water. She's in an apocalyptic world where there's no more water on the earth for the most part, and she is in a mech suit that is keeping her safe from like, that's filled with water, and it keeps her safe as she's traveling. But in the first issue, her mech suit's water toxicity just got too dangerous.
Here you go.
We're back. Yay, we're back. I was just about to post on there. So yeah, Last Mermaid, she's living her best life. Finally, they found some nice, happy water, her and her axolotl Lottie, except that beautiful, wonderful place where she is found may not be as safe and wonderful as she thinks. This is a great book for pretty much all ages so far, but such an interesting concept to take a mermaid out, like, in an apocalypse. Like, she does not have legs, she cannot move, she is just a classic mermaid, but she's got this mech suit that can travel. This is done by a storyboard artist for a big animation like Disney and things like that, and you can feel that heart in it. And I know because of that, there's going to be 1,000 moments where I cry in this story. It's going to happen. I'm already prepared for it. And, you know, they kind of just give you that teaser in this back cover. It's like, oh, we get this happy, beautiful front cover and the world's most depressingly sad looking back cover. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to read every single issue of this first and foremost when it comes out. I'm not going to lie. I read issues 1 and 2 in preview format, and I still, like, I got PDFs in advance, and I still read issues 1 and 2 when they came in because it's just so good. Love Everlasting is back. This is issue 14 from Image Comics, and Tom King just gets better with every issue of this book. This has been so good. If you don't know the premise of Love Everlasting, essentially there is a woman named Joan, and if you're meeting her, she's probably already in love with you, is the tagline they give her, because Joan lives in essentially romance novels, and not in the way that, like, we all kind of read a book and we fall in love with it. Joan literally wakes up and lives the perfect romance novel life, and the second she gets proposed to by the man in the story, a cowboy shows up and shoots her, and she wakes up inside of another romance novel with no knowledge of the fact that she was ever in one previously. And she is just trying to find this perfect happy life. Well, that was volume 1. And then in the second arc, we kind of see the story of her and this cowboy and where he came from and what is going on and how is he connected to her. And now in this third arc of the story, we are seeing the way their paths cross in a new way. But we're also finding that Joan, who has in every story always been the one that's like, I just can't wait for him to marry me. I can't wait for him to propose. I just want to be happy. I can't wait. Is now, whenever somebody proposes, is like, I have no desire to marry you. I don't want to be married. I want to live on my own. Everything I've learned is that I can survive on my own, and I don't need anybody else. But in this issue, not only does she have that, but for the first time, Joan actually has some other big realizations and some other big moments. And if you are reading Love Everlasting, you know that we have a secret backside that's happening to all of this that I don't want to ruin for the people who haven't started it yet. Seriously, read this book. Tom King gives you all of the great, like, moments that you would get from classic, like, romance comics, but he's done something new and modern and has a whole overarching story that is phenomenally well casted and, like, crafted. And I don't know where he's going to go with this and how he's going to pay it all off. It could happen in the next couple issues. He could actually make it wrap up with this arc. He could keep going forever. And I'm not mad either way because it's just so good. And if we don't see more Eisner nominations for this book, I will be surprised because it's so good. Also, I feel like I'm at the point in the year where I can start talking about Eisner nominations on how these books need to be nominated. So, you know, we're going to... If you're watching, just know I'm going to start telling you books I think should be nominated from the last year. Traveling to Mars, issue 11 from Ablaze Comics. This is the end of Mark Russell's Traveling to Mars series. And I feel like I need to, like, applaud it because it's so good. Mark Russell, I mean, literally, like, I love the fact that the quote on the back of the book is just, "We matter." Like, it didn't need anything else. But if you have not read Traveling to Mars, this is the story of a man who felt like he didn't matter. He didn't accomplish anything in his life ever. And he gets cancer and he's going to die. And he's approached by a corporation that's like, hey, we're getting reports that Mars has resources and that, like, the government is going to try to claim them. But we think if we get there first as a corporation, then we have the rights to them and then we can sell them. So we're sending somebody up to Mars who's never going to come back. Like, you're going to die on this mission. We're not even going to send you with supplies to be on Mars. We just need you to plant a little flag that says we own Mars and then die. And he's like, all right, well, at least then I can say I did something because I'll provide resources to the world. And, like, his ex-wife can survive and his mom. And, like, he's like, that's all I really care about. And so we, for the last 11 issues, have been traveling with this man as he made his way across space and time to get to Mars to claim it for this corporation. And he has had some of the weirdest moments and some of the most beautiful moments. And of course, Mark Russell has given us some of the most fantastic commentary on life, what it means, who we are, why we matter, and what doesn't matter through this guy's story. And of course, his only connection point has been with the robots on his ship. And of course, the robots he finds on Mars, all of those rovers that we've sent. And it's absolutely beautiful. Mark Russell always sticks the landing, and this is no exception. This book is literally out of this world. This little Eisner, Mark Russell, best writer, we're gonna see, like, nominee. We better see some awards come in the way of this book this year. And to Mark Russell should definitely be winning some Eisners for this and for just his writing in general. He is crushing it this last year, taking his stuff to a whole nother level, and this is a great example of that. This is complete now, so if you haven't started it yet, I'm sure there's going to be, like, a complete collection, but there's definitely all 11 issues on the shelf, so you should come and grab it and read it. All right, we've got some books in stock right now. We've got The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 86. These are all your reprints of all the color issues of The Walking Dead. We've got Suicide Squad, Kill Arkham Asylum, issue 3. These are polybagged because they do come with codes for those of you who are playing the game for the Kill Arkham game. Shazam, Moving Day. That's the story. Shazam is the issue. This is issue 10, part of your Dawn of DC. We're starting that new arc with Shazam right now. Red Sonja has launched a new title. This is Empire of the Damned, issue 1 for Red Sonja. The others are still continuing. This is just a new title. Power Pack Into the Storm with your original Power Pack team writing this and drawing it, which is fantastic to see. X-Men issue 33. We are coming to the end of the Hickman verse of X-Men. We are seeing the fall of the House of X. And we are going to be relaunching after Free Comic Book Day with a whole slew of new X-Men. Venom issue 32, and we are starting to see our vampire variants coming your way. What's really cool is that Marvel is homaging all of their old, like, Tomb of Dracula issues with all these vampire variants for the upcoming Blood Hunt. And so I love that they actually give you, this is the issue that we're homaging, so you know, hey, these are homage issues. We had Immortal Thor issue 9. I have been told this is the issue. This is the one. This is, if you're going to read Immortal Thor, this is the heart and soul of this in this issue. Kneel Before Zod issue 4. Also been a surprisingly big fan favorite. Superman 78. This is the Metal Curtain. This is issue 6, which I believe is our last issue of Superman 78 Metal Curtain. Star Wars issue 45. And we've got these 10th anniversary covers for Star Wars Rebels, which just makes me feel old to know that Rebels is already 10 years old. King Spawn's back with issue 32 this week. Sensational She-Hulk issue 7, and again, you've got that homage cover for your vampires, so make sure you're checking out which covers they were. Poison Ivy issue 21. I'm so excited when I see that this series is still going. Congratulations to G. Willow Wilson and the team on Poison Ivy. Moon Knight, Vengeance of the Moon Knight issue 4, and again, your Tomb of Dracula variant cover. as we continue to homage those all through the lead up into the Marvel Vampire event to come. Deadpool is back with issue 1 of Deadpool, starting up a whole new series. So if you're a Deadpool fan, this is the time. This is your time. There are Deadpool books all over the place with new trades, new single issues, getting you ready for that Deadpool movie to come. Birds of Prey issue 8 out this week. Also really happy to see that book continues. Blue Beetle issue 8, and we are seeing the loss of some characters in this one. The Avengers issue 12, with that new run on Avengers, and then Batman issue 146. I like that all of these have ads for Six Flags. I'm like, can you put some more DC love into your Six Flags? I know we have some, but I want it to be like Disney World for DC. I'm just waiting for that to really take over. We've got the Unstoppable Doom Patrol. This is your collection of all of that series that just came out over the last year, issues 1 through 7, plus a special Doom Patrol story from the Lazarus Planet. And then we've got volume 1 of Sacrificers. I told you it was here. This is issues 1 through 6. Again, won Batastic Awards last year for how great it is. My favorite Rick Remender series. It's absolutely stunning. Beautiful story, beautiful art, and definitely a must read. So grab that and add it to your collection. Don't forget, we've got all kinds of crazy, awesome, wonderful events coming out, specifically with our Digital Lizards of Doom event on April 15th. So if you've got young kids, that's going to start at 4. They're going to get a chance to talk to Gabe, the creator of Digital Lizards of Doom, and play some fun games. Don't miss that. It's going to be fantastic. Start thinking of your questions now, kiddos. It's completely free, and the store is only open for you. Don't forget Academic Avengers on April 27th, 11 to 4. It's going to be a family fun day. All kinds of games, all kinds of fun. Come out and play with us. May 4th is Free Comic Book Day, so join us for that. Come meet creators, come meet cosplayers. Get some free books. There's going to be tons of them, as well as other activities. Descent into Gaming will even be here for Free Comic Book Day, playing games with the kids. So come out and support that. And then again, don't forget May 11th is SiestaCon down in Sarasota. We'll be there with our friends at Darkside and Descent into Gaming, actually. And we'll be having a blast. So come out for that. As always, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to try Artesania, Portugal, fantastic red wine. I'm so excited to try this with some food in a little bit. Until we see you next time, happy reading, everyone, and have a wonderful week. Bye.